It happens in a split second. You scroll, you see something you want, you tap buy, and just like that, your money is gone. This pie chart shows exactly where these impulse buys are happening. Billions of dollars are instantly absorbed by Amazon, Instagram, and TikTok Shop, driven entirely by unplanned, friction-free transactions. This behavior originates deep inside your brain's mesolimbic pathway. When you see a limited-time offer, your brain doesn't react to the product itself. It reacts to the anticipation of the reward, flooding your system with dopamine. Modern social platforms and e-commerce sites are engineered entirely around this chemical response. They optimize every pixel to hijack your evolutionary biology and extract your wealth. This flowchart tracks exactly how the hijack works. Scarcity cues and personalized ads act as direct dopamine triggers, forcing immediate emotional engagement. Moving down, that anticipation cascades into a behavioral response. By the one-click order button, logical thought is completely bypassed. We are susceptible to this because of a cognitive flaw called hyperbolic discounting. For most of human history, surviving today was more important than planning for the next decade. This graph maps how we perceive value over time. Our primitive brains register a small, immediate reward as a massive spike in value, completely drowning out the slow, steady curve of a much larger delayed payoff. Because your neural circuitry automatically prioritizes immediate gratification over a secure future, a flashing low stock alert on a website effortlessly defeats your financial discipline. Once the dopamine hit fades and the bank balance drops, the reality of debt sets in, and your brain physically constricts. Psychologists call this the mental bandwidth tax. The sheer subjective experience of lacking financial resources actively consumes your working memory. Under this tax, your attention is forced into a narrow, obsessive loop. You hyper-focus on immediate threats, like keeping the electricity on, leaving zero processing power to plan for the future. Experiencing financial scarcity literally degrades your real-time cognitive capacity. Being poor makes it biologically harder to make smart decisions. The biological reaction to this bandwidth drain is severe. The amygdala, the almond-sized region of your brain responsible for detecting threats, enters a state of absolute panic. This amygdala panic overrides the prefrontal cortex. That is the area of your brain responsible for structural thinking, logic, and long-term planning, and it gets entirely locked down. People experiencing this often stop checking their bank accounts or opening their mail. It is a behavioral response called financial avoidance, a literal retreat from emotional pain. Traditional finance advice ignores all of this. It tells humans to suppress their feelings, run the numbers, and act like rational robots. Biology proves that is impossible. Attempting to suppress your emotions instead of managing them leaves your threat response unchecked, driving you toward total financial self-destruction. If we look at professional finance, environments where volatility and risk are constant, survival requires a totally different approach to emotion. The secret is a biological trait called interoception. This is your ability to accurately sense internal bodily signals, like a subtle change in your heart rate or a knot in your stomach. This scatterplot from a study of the London trading floor shows a clear correlation. Traders with higher heartbeat detection scores consistently achieved better profit and loss ranks. This fMRI scan reveals the mechanism. The highlighted anterior insula reads physical heart rate changes, translating them into usable data. Tracking the graph on the right, these neural signals map directly to market volatility, converting an anxiety spike into an accurate risk prediction. Elite wealth management relies on these physical cues. The best traders use their gut feeling as predictive math. You can apply this exact principle to your own money using cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It is a proven tool to override the amygdala's panic response. The process begins with observation. You must actively identify the negative physical panic signals triggered by a scarcity mindset. Next, you apply cognitive restructuring. You capture the anxious thought and manually replace it with a rational, evidence-based counterstatement. This intentional action forces a structural shift in the brain. It re-engages the prefrontal cortex, pulling power away from the amygdala, and restores long-term planning. The internet will continually refine its dopamine traps. But by learning to decode your own physiological signals, you turn your body's threat response from a massive liability into your greatest asset.